I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At a Senate Homeland Security Committee nomination hearing on Thursday, Senator Jon Ossoff questioned TSA Administrator David Pekoski, who is seeking a second term. Ossoff grilled the administrator about staff shortages and delays affecting Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, which is consistently ranked one of the busiest airports in the country. Ossoff also raised concern because Georgia has twice the national rate of weapons and firearms detected by TSA. Listen in to the TSA Administrator's response.
Senator Ossoff, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Administrator, thank you for joining us. I want to begin by addressing staff capacity concerns and delays that are in particular affecting Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta. As the public returns to air travel after the worst periods thus far of the COVID-19 pandemic, airline passengers have been frustrated by cancellations and long lines at airports in Georgia and across the country. Over the past year, many airports have faced delays due to staffing capacity issues at TSA security checkpoints. How is TSA proactively addressing workforce shortages through expanded recruitment and employee retention efforts?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the support of the team at ATL. Very much appreciated. We are seeing rapid recovery of travel to the point of about 90% of where we are overall pre-pandemic. So 3 years ago, we're about 90% of those levels. Our staff is not where it needs to be, but in general, across our system, every single day at 430 airports in the country, we are meeting our wait time standards, and those standards are for a non-pre-check passenger to get through screening within 30 minutes, and for a pre-check passenger within 10. And we consistently across the system meet those standards, with rare exception. I mean, when you consider 430 airports and roughly 2,400 screening lanes, I'll have a report, maybe 3 or 4 reports a day, where we might have exceeded those standards. Having said that, we do need more staff than what we have today, and we expect the recovery to continue into the fall and into the December holidays. We've done some great work in providing incentives to keep. Well, first you got to keep the great employees we currently have, and so we provided more incentives to keep current employees in TSA. Secondly, and we just did this at Atlanta, we do focused recruiting events. So we had 600-700 people that showed up for the recruiting event that we held at Atlanta. And what we do there is we do all of the steps in our recruitment process all at one time. So you do your computer-based testing, you do your, you begin your medical process, and you start to fill out your security forms. This greatly streamlines our ability to bring people on board. The other thing that is critically important, sir, and I appreciate your support of this, is we do have a proposal in the budget from the President's budget for 23 to provide pay equity for TSA. And as you may know, our frontline screening workforce receives 30% less pay than if they worked in any other federal agency. If you went through the standard process of classifying their positions and then providing their compensation for that, we're about 30% off. That has a significant impact on our ability to recruit people and to retain folks. And so I think that's one of the most important things. It's my most important thing as the agency head to provide responses to questions that members of Congress such as yourself might have, and then hopefully, if it's approved and appropriated, to implement.
Thank you, Administrator. We commit to working with my office and with the ATL leadership, including B. Odari, the General Manager at Hartsfield-Jackson, to ensure the airport has sufficient staff and drive down wait times.
Yes, sir. I've met with him. I've been to Atlanta many times and absolutely commit to do that.
I appreciate that commitment, Administrator. I want to ask you about airport firearms safety. Georgia has twice the national rate of firearms detections by TSA. This number is increasing, and it's estimated that 86% of firearms that TSA detects are loaded. Last month, Fox 5 Atlanta reported that a firearm made it through security at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport unnoticed. It was reported that the armed individual was not found and may have boarded a flight. TSA has confirmed that it investigated the event and is implementing training and policy changes to prevent incidents like this from recurring. Goes without saying, but undetected firearms present a serious danger to airline passengers and aviation safety, and this potential incident is extremely concerning. What steps are you taking in response to the increasing number of firearms detected at airports, particularly at those in Georgia and at major hubs like Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport?
A number of steps, sir, and thanks for the question. I mean, it is a significant issue of concern for all of us. So far this calendar year, we've had about 3,400 weapons detected in our checkpoint process. That number, compared to last year, is about the same number when you prorate it for where we are in this calendar year. But the rate per million passengers is starting to go down, but it's still way too high. So what we're doing is we're making sure that we are very public, particularly in the checkpoint, as people are going through the queue line, to remind everybody that you cannot bring a weapon into the security of an airport. You can carry a weapon in your check baggage, and there are procedures for doing that. The other thing that we're doing, and would really appreciate your support on this, sir, is we're putting new technology in our screening checkpoints, and we have a lot of that new technology at Atlanta Airport. But part of that new technology is the ability for the technology to automatically detect some of these prohibited items, which currently we don't have the ability to do. That will be a huge assistance to our officers who, as you can imagine, when you're looking at literally hundreds of images in any given shift rotation, having those technology assists, which are out there and available, we just need to fine-tune them for our application, would further drive down the number of cases like the one you cited.
Thank you, Administrator. Will you provide to my office and this committee an explanation of this specific incident, the steps that you took in response to it, and update us as soon as the policy changes and officer training changes that you're implementing in response are complete?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Administrator. The Federal Flight Deck Officer Program provides training and allows TSA to deputize volunteer pilots and flight attendants to defend the flight decks of aircraft against violence and terrorism. The program was created in the wake of 9/11 and since then has trained thousands of volunteer flight crew members, many of whom received training in Georgia. However, the program has not received sufficient funding to support its continued growth, and with air travel booming again, this program is more vital than ever, which is why I'm leading an effort to strengthen this vital aviation security program in the upcoming federal appropriations bill. Administrator, will you champion continued funding for the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program should you be confirmed to another term at the top of TSA?
Yes, sir. It's a fantastic program. Really appreciate all the captains and first officers volunteering to go through the training and to perform this function for us. We do intend to provide a recurrent training facility in Atlanta on a permanent basis, and would appreciate your support for that appropriation.
I appreciate your responses and your time and your service, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.